The Exodus and Parting of the Red Sea. After the 10th and final plague, the death of the firstborn, Pharaoh finally agreed to let the Israelites go. The Israelites, who had been enslaved in Egypt for 430 years, left in haste, taking their flocks, herds, and all they had. The Lord guided them on their journey, leading them by a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night. Exodus 12 verses 31 to 42, 13:21-22. However, once the Israelites had left, Pharaoh changed his mind and decided to pursue them with his army, including 600 of his best chariots. As Pharaoh and his army approached, the Israelites saw them and were terrified. They cried out to Moses, saying, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt?" Exodus 14 verses 5 to 11. But Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Exodus 14 verses 13 to 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." Moses did as the Lord commanded, and all that night, the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. Exodus 14:16, 21-22. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and horsemen followed them into the sea. But during the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they had difficulty driving, and the Egyptians said, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Exodus 14 verses 23-25. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak, the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing toward it, but the Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. Exodus 14 verses 26-28. But the Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. That day the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. When the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. Exodus 14 verses 29-31. After their miraculous deliverance, Moses and the Israelites sang a song of praise to the Lord, celebrating his power and faithfulness. Exodus 15 verses 1-21. Reflect on the story of the Exodus and the parting of the Red Sea. What does this story teach you about God's power, deliverance, and faithfulness? How does this story inspire you to trust God in difficult situations where the outcome seems impossible? Write about how this story impacts your understanding of God's protection and guidance in your life, and how you can apply the lessons of faith and obedience in your own journey.